What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Inside the Huddle. And as always, it seems like he's my new co-host now, joined by one of my best friends. I can honestly say this, even though I've never met him in real life, but I don't care. One of my best friends, Ryan DePaul. Thanks for joining me again, Ryan. Whatever he's doing down there.
What up, man? How you doing? I'm ready to rock and roll. And I
Uh,
want to throw it out to everyone. I know everyone is now going to be engaged in the show because the show's freaking awesome because we're experts, literally. But I do want to say something. John and I have this little this independent off-air competition thing going on. Who has more correct picks? Last week we tied. This week I'm gonna just dominate him though. So we're ready to rock and roll. Let's do it.
this is like FanDuel without the money. Is what it is.
That's right. Let's rock and roll. I'm ready to battle this one out.
Hey, this is a problem. This is why I can't do FanDuel, because this is all the money I got right here. I got a dime. All right. So we're going to start with the Thursday night game, and this one's such a hard one. The Chiefs go to the black hole, where the Raiders, who have now lost 16 games in a row, face the Chiefs, who have won, I think, 7 of their last 8 or something like that, 5 of their last 7.
They're hot. They're hot.
So go ahead and say you can take their Chiefs, so I can say I take the Chiefs. So
Yeah, Chiefs. Look at Jamal Charles averaging over 5 yards a carry. He is a beast, and the Raiders aren't going to do nothing to stop that. This game might get real ugly real quick. The Raiders did play actually pretty decent defense against the Chargers last game, but it's not going to matter. Chiefs looked good. They beat up the Seahawks. They've battled some teams this year and have some impressive victories. I'm going Chiefs. They'll probably win this game by at least 10 points, probably more.
two little tidbits about this game. Jamal Charles has been my fantasy running back, and he's been great the last couple weeks, so I'm hoping to get 25 more points out of him. Secondly, J.J. Watt has more receiving touchdowns than the entire Chiefs wide receiver corps.
Ooh,
That's right.
Way to throw that out there, John.
I heard that this morning on NFL AM, and I couldn't believe it. J.J.
You don't. When you hear someone else where you just spit it out. It's okay. You don't have to give props to somebody else because you heard it on the radio or whatever.
I just couldn't believe it. That's how much they use Kelsey, and that's how much they use Jamal Charles. I mean, they use those two guys a lot to where they don't even need wide receivers. So Chiefs are going to win this fight.
This is true. Let me piggyback on that. I believe Kelsey last game had 20 receiving yards, 20, which is nothing, right? And he led everyone on his team. Like Jamal Charles literally gets the ball almost every snap, and the defenses know that, and it doesn't matter. They can't stop it.
He's just that good. Him and Niles Davis are a nice little combo. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, here's going to be a nice game for you to pick since you're definitely you and I discussed before we came on about the Browns. The Browns at Falcons. Who you taking?
Yeah, I'm actually going to take the Falcons. I know you're probably going to go Browns here. I was telling John this. I can't figure this team out. It's like I know this is the best they've been in years. I pick them. They disappoint me. I don't pick them, like against the Bengals, and they put on a defensive clinic against Andy Dalton. And then I take them, and then they get killed by the Tech. It's like I just can't gauge this team. Them and the Seahawks have just been all over the map for me. I think I'm taking the Falcons mainly because this game's at home, and the Browns. Their defense has been solid, but their running game has been so sketch. I know they they cut Ben Tate, and it's been West or Tate or Quell and all these guys, and it's all over the place. Their running game's too much of a mess for me. I think the Falcons are going to win. I think it's going to be very close, field goal difference, but I'm taking Atlanta.
They're going to bring back Peyton Hill as try to recapture his magic again from 2 years ago, just so he can get on the Madden cover and suck ass. You know something? Fuck it. I've been riding the Brownies all year long. I'm going to take the Brownies just simply for the fact that, they've bounced back a couple of times after a couple of bad losses. And I really like that defense. Joe Hayden has become man crushes. I love that guy so much. He's just so good. And the Falcons, they're in first place because the NFC South sucks ass. And I don't trust this team. I picked them a couple of times. They've lost to the Minnesota Vikings already this year once. I mean, this team is just they're not that good. They're lucky they play in the division they play in. So I'm going to take the Browns to upset the Falcons at home. Titans at Eagles.
This is easy for me. Not only because it's in Philly, the Titans are actually pretty decent against the pass. Ben Roethlisberger looked a little suspect at times. But the Titans' deep rushing defense is 31st.
Yeah.
There are 32 teams. Their rushing defense is 31st. I think this is the best game LaShawn McCoy is going to have all season, and it's time he finally breaks out. I think the Eagles win this game. I think LaShawn McCoy has a huge game.
Yeah, I'm going with Philly. And Mettenberger looked pretty good, though, against Ben Roethlisberger. Him and each other actually matched pretty
He did. He did.
go for the throw. And they had that point lead going into halftime. It was pretty funny. Mike Tirico's like, he's like, I don't see that why the Titans would even try to run a play here. 37 seconds to go in the half. It really surprised me. And then, what's his face? Nate Washington breaks through right past Gay and it just hits him for that 65-yard touchdown. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, man, the Titans or the Steelers are going to lose to another crappy team, back-to-back weeks. So I'm going to take Philly. They bounce back. And this is the week the franchise is going to have people questioning whether or not Nick Foles should be their starter because he's going to take advantage of the Titans. Yeah. So I'm taking the Eagles. Lions at Patriots.
Raise your hand if you had Jonas Gray on your fantasy team prior to picking him up in this draft or in this week. Me. Raise your hand if you did not start him.
I didn't start him.
Look, Bill Belichick. I just don't. And Shane Vereen can go off, and then you start him, and he does nothing, and then Jonas Gray goes off, and you start him, and he's going to do nothing this game. Unfortunately, Shane Vereen's style works out more for this type of defense because the Giants' defensive line is just beastly. I do think the Pats are going to win, though. Not only because this game is at home, but because Tom Brady has looked really good ever since that Chiefs game. Ever since that Chiefs game where they got embarrassed, Monday Night Football or whatever it was, they've looked really, really good. And I think we just I thought we I'm taking so anyway, we're good. I'm taking the Pats. I think the Pats are going to win this game. I think the Lions are going to make it close. I know Reggie Bush is supposed to play. I know Calvin Johnson's going to be there. But I think the Patriots are going to win this game. And I want to say something. Matthew Stafford's a gunslinger. The Patriots have one of the better passing defenses in the game, too.
Yep.
I think Stafford's going to throw a couple of picks this game. I think the Pats are going to end up winning.
The Lions went out to Arizona where they haven't won in their last 7 tries. And the Arizona Cardinals haven't been really that dominant over the last few years. I mean, now they're the Lions. But, I mean, they've lost to the Cardinals all the time. And the Cardinals are another team with a really good defense. And to their credit, after Stanton dropped 2 touchdowns on them, they kept the game close. Matt Stafford played a pretty bad game at quarterback. Patrick Peterson's great. I don't think that guy gets enough respect. I mean, he did a great job shutting out Calvin Johnson. And, Golden Tate only had 2 balls thrown his way that entire game. But you're playing the Patriots in Foxborough, a place they historically never lose with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And if you can't beat the Cardinals in the desert, you're not going to beat Tom Brady, who's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL in Foxborough. And especially when you're a dome team and it's going to be really cold and snowy there, they lose this game by 2 scores. You watch. I mean, their defense is good. I'll give you credit on that. I hate giving the Lions credit. I hate to think of them even as a legit good team because Lions fans just piss me off because they don't know how to take winning in stride because they never win. But they're going to lose to New England by 2 scores. So no shot in this game. Here we go. My boys, the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings. Who are you taking?
John, let's pretend you have a vote for MVP and the season ended right now. Who's your MVP?
Ooh, goddamn, that's hard. Honestly, it's between J.J. Watt and Peyton Manning would be 2 of my top guys. Because J.J. Watt, man, he's had a season. I know a lot of defensive guys don't ever win MVP, but this guy's got 4 touchdowns. The first guy to do that since like the 30s. A defensive end. He's got 2 receiving ones, and not to mention all the sacks and the QB pressures and all that. I mean, this guy's playing on another level. I mean, like Reggie White level. He's that good right now.
I understand. If I'm a voter, I'm literally voting Aaron Rodgers. I watch Aaron Rodgers play, and I start almost getting angry. He makes NFL teams look like literally like high school teams. He's out there, and it looks like I'm watching my friend play Madden on. No matter where he wants to throw it, it goes there. Doesn't matter who he wants to pass it to, what the coverage is, how tight the hole is, it's there. The guy is insane. Aaron Rodgers is just way too locked in. And Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb are good, but he makes them look elite. You can give Aaron Rodgers any old decent / good wide receiver, and he makes him look like a stud Pro Bowler. I think the Packers are going to win this game. I think almost everyone thinks that. However, I'm kind of curious. I know the Vikings. They got They claimed Ben Tate off waivers just a couple hours ago. And I'm curious if he's going to be getting plays in this game. I don't know. Not that it matters anyway, because they're going to be trailing real soon and they're going to be passing the ball. Packers are going to blow this game out. But I'm kind of curious how they're going to use Ben Tate.
All right, so I got a few thoughts about this whole thing in general here. Like what you were saying, Jordy Nelson can't be covered. The Bears, there was guys like 13 yards away from him. He's just breaking down coverage. I mean, he had like 2 60-yard touchdowns against those guys. I mean, he can't be covered. He's just destroying coverages. And you're like, all right, we're going to double up Jordy. And you got Randall Cobb, who's just legit as him. And then you cover him. And then you got Devontae Adams. He's just done great. And then, Tom Rogers is done pretty nice work as well. The tight end. And besides the Saint game, has looked really, really good the last 6 games. Jay Peppers, he has 2 pick-sixes this year. And Clay Matthews, since they moved him to inside linebacker, they used him on the inside and outside. That man's pressure the last 2 weeks, him getting in the quarterback and him getting the running back, is just gone up. Because they don't know how to cover him. Is he coming from the middle gaps? Is he coming to rush you from the outside? They don't know, and he can't be stopped. He's been absolutely outstanding. And Aaron Rodgers is some kind of locked in. Ever since the first 4 weeks, the Packers have started out slow the last 2 years. And it was like, oh, what's going on with the Packers offense? Going on Packers offense. And Aaron Rodgers had that one famous speech this whole season. Relax. Exactly. Relax. And guess what? Last 2 weeks, they have dropped over 100 points. The last 4 games at Lambeau coming into this week, Aaron Rodgers had a 15-0 touchdown to interception ratio. They had outscored opponents 128-9 in the first half. Last 4 games at Lambeau. Those games, you could leave. You could get your ass home and wait from home because Aaron Rodgers was about to go watch it from the rest of the game in the locker room because it was already done. They didn't even need to play him in the third quarter in the last 4 games at home. Matt Flynn could go out there starting. Mm-hmm. They have been destroying teams, mutilating teams. And I wanted to touch on that point you were talking about. You can give him any wide receivers, and he can make them look good. Greg Jennings, Pro Bowl wide receiver, goes to Minnesota. Yeah, he had a 1,000-yard season last year. But he's not nearly as good as he was. Look at his touchdowns. James Jones, look how many touchdowns this man had when he was a Packer. He ain't doing shit out in Oakland. That just goes to show you how good this guy is. His accuracy, his pocket presence, his arm, his decision-making. The man has 3 interceptions on the year. He's outstanding. They're easily taking this game in Minnesota. Packers win by 2 scores at least. Jags at Colts.
Colts, obviously. Not only is it in Indy, I believe, when I was looking at this earlier, Jacksonville's defense is 26th against the pass. That's not good when you're going to face Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton and Reggie Wayne and Kobe Fleener. I think Dwayne Allen's going to be out, but Fleener's going to be in there and probably get 100 receiving yards. This game's going to get ugly. I'm worried that Ahmad Bradshaw got hurt because I think he was a lot better than people gave him credit for. Good blocker. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He was a solid player. Him being out is going to kill him. But this game against Jacksonville is not going to be close. Again, this is another double-digit game.
Oh, they got Trent Richardson. They wasted a first round. It's good. Remember that? So, yeah, this is an easy one. Andrew Luck, he's going to come back, and he's going to drop at least 4 on these guys because the Jags suck. So, let's move on. Bengals at Texans.
This one was one of the few most difficult for me to choose. I'm taking Texans at home, and I want to throw something out there. The last time the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Houston Texans was 2005. That's 9 years ago.
A little while ago.
Yeah, so, that just tells me, I don't know, but I just think it continues, man. I mean, J.J. Watt, like he said, has been a beast. Cincinnati, I think A.J. Green's finally back and healthy and going to be there, week in and week out. I think it helps Andy Dalton a lot. I think this game's going to be I think it helps Andy Dalton a lot, but I think this game's going to end up ultimately coming down to the fact that Foster's going to be in there and Foster's going to be healthy. So, I think Texans win. Again, I think this is a really close game. This is another game I think is going to be a field goal difference, but I'm taking Houston.
I like the Texans a lot, and they're a team that should be better than their record because Arian Foster's been a monster when he's played this year. Alfred Blue's been really good. I mean, I know their defense has been okay. They've had some injury problems, Clowney, Cushing, whatnot. Cushing being hurt. J.J. Watt's been pretty much carrying them. but this team is a lot better than they and why that Sons of Anarchy, Duck Dynasty looking motherfucker Ryan Fitzpatrick was starting over Ryan Mallett to begin with was beyond me. Ryan Mallett came out and he looked really, really good in his debut.
He did. He did.
I love his accuracy was really good. He throws a nice deep ball, and when Rush was drafted, I think he came out of Arkansas. He was considered a first-round talent, but he had some off-the-field issues and attitude problems at Arkansas that made him drop down a little bit. There was some suspect issues, and I think him sitting under Tom Brady for the last couple of years, it's really helped him because you could see it, man. This kid looked really good. He didn't look like a rookie starting his first game ever. I really liked his intangibles that he showed. So I'm taking the Texans to beat the Bengals, even with A.J. Green. So because I think Dalton's going to be on his back quite a bit from J.J. Watt.
What's the next game?
Jets at Bills. Now, mind you, the Bills have 5 feet of snow on their field right now, so.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills. Their defense is, they showed on Thursday night against Miami, their defense is pretty darn good. This game's in Buffalo, and the Jets, it's like, I know they have that like shocking win against Pittsburgh, what was it, 2 weeks ago. That team's a mess, dude. That team is just bad. I think that the Bills are going to win this game. I think there's going to be a lot of field goals. So, I mean, if you're one of those guys who's looking randomly for a kicker, pick up Carpenter because I think he's going to have like 4 field goals this game if the weather's not too bad. But I think the Bills are going to win this game. I took Buffalo.
I just runners, so I don't even give a shit. Bills are winning this game. Bucks at Bears.
We only have one difference so far again. Jeez. What's the next one? Bucks and beers?
Bears. Bucks at Bears.
I'm not thirsty. Let's see. I'm taking Chicago. Are you taking Chicago?
The Buccaneers suck ass, and I hate the Bears. I want them to lose every week, and it wouldn't surprise me if Jay Cutler laid a dud. This seems like a game because the Bears come back, they beat Minnesota. He looks semi-decent. Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall go off a little bit. And this is like, all right, the Bears, they finally get a win, blah, blah, blah. They're back on track. And this seems like the game. It's perfect setting. They've only won one game all year this year. That was last week. This seems like a game that has all the fucking makeup for the Bucs to come in and beat them. It really does. Yeah. And remember last week, I want to say something real quick. You and I did picks, all right? And I said last week that Rams Broncos game was not getting enough credit.
And I thought about you while watching that game.
I
didn't expect every guy on the Broncos to get injured, but nonetheless, you did call that.
I called it. I mean, I took the Broncos, so I'm not. But I said that game had the makings for in the world for an upset because the Rams defense was playing better. They're getting a lot of sacks, and they got to Peyton a good chunk of the game. Emmanuel Sanders got destroyed, which sucks because he's on my fantasy squad. But I get the same feeling about this Bucs-Bears game. This has all the makings for an upset, but I'm not going to go against the Bears because the Bucs suck. I know Lovie Smith is coming back home, but God, they're awful.
No, I think Jay Cutler throws for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think this is actually going to be the biggest game Cutler has.
Yeah.
Bears are winning it.
Yeah, I call this a one-score game. The Bears just don't impress me. Cards at Seahawks. This is a good one.
I'm taking Seahawks, and I'm only taking it because it's in Seattle. The Cardinals have gotten no respect all season. They're not going to get any from me here. I mean, they're a good team, man. They're a lot better than people think. But I think Seahawks win. Again, like I said this, 7-8 minutes ago, the Seahawks have been really tough for me to judge. The Seahawks and Browns, too hard for me to gauge. But I'm taking the Seahawks mainly because it's in Seattle. I think that 12th man, especially since it's an interdivision game, I think that 12th man will be rocking at CenturyLink. I'm taking Seattle.
I told you before we started, I think Seattle's a tad on the overrated side. Dallas came up and beat them in CenturyLink this year. If Marshawn Lynch doesn't have a good game, they're not going to do anything. But if Carson Palmer was starting at quarterback, I would legitimately take the Cardinals just because of their defense to beat the Seahawks in Seattle. I really would. But I just don't trust Drew Stanton. He just throws – he's not accurate. He only completes like 50-some% of his passes. So I just don't think that's enough. Is Ellington going to be able to run the ball enough effectively, to be able to cover up Drew Stanton? I don't think so. So they're in CenturyLink. Marshawn Lynch is going to be playing one of his last games as a Seahawk. So I think he has a beast mode kind of game, and they win in spite of him. So I'm going to take the Seahawks as well. Rams at Chargers. This should be a hard one for you to pick.
Last 5 games, there's only 5 games left. I want you to give your pick first. I'm so sick of having the same freaking picks as you every time. You're picking first. Go.
Well, great minds think alike, Ryan. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, I know, but go ahead.
I picked the Rams to up. I kind of had them beating the Broncos last week, but I think this is the game they actually get torched. I see Phillip Rivers actually, I see Phillip Rivers dropping three touchdowns on these guys. Not just because he's my fantasy quarterback, because Rivers had that one nice streak where after the first 2 weeks in the NFL, the first 2 seasons, he had that nice streak when they won those 5 games. Where if you face Phillip Rivers, he was dropping 3 or 4 on you every week, and he's giving me like 27 fantasy points a week. And Rivers really hasn't had that the last couple weeks. He got shut out in Miami. Last week he looked better. But I think this is the game where they get that click. You get a couple of touchdowns. You get one to Keenan Allen. You get Antonio Gates back in the thing. Hopefully Ryan Matthews is running the ball a little bit more effectively. Maybe Brandon Oliver can have a couple of early games like he had in the season. So I'm going to take the Chargers. I think this is going to be not as close as it was the Broncos game.
I'm taking the Chargers as well. Look at Ryan Matthews got his feet wet in that game against Oakland. He has something like, 13, 15 carries. Him and Brandon Oliver shared basically split 50-50. I think Matthews is going to get about 4 or 5 more carries this week. I am worried for Phillip Rivers fantasy owners like you because I know that the second half of this schedule for the Chargers, this is why I was very upset when they blew that game against Arizona that I thought they would win until they blew it in the fourth quarter. The first half of the Chargers' schedule is very easy compared to the back half of the Chargers' schedule. They still have at Baltimore. They still have New England. They still have Kansas City. They still have the Denver again. They have a tough back half schedule. One of the tougher ones in the league, actually. So I think and for Phillip fantasy owners, I'm a little keep that in mind. I do think the Chargers are going to win this game. It is in San Diego. I heard Phillip Rivers had some rib issues. I don't know how serious that is. But now that they have the running backs back, I think that their defense looked a lot better last week. Mind you, it was the Raiders. But I think that they're going to start clicking here. I think the Chargers win this game. I think it's going to actually be pretty decently close. But I'm taking San Diego.
Next game is Dolphins at Broncos. And you talked earlier about how the Cardinals don't get a lot of respect. I honestly think the Dolphins are one of those teams in the AFC they don't get enough respect because they played a lot better. Tannehill at one point this season almost got benched, and he goes to London and lights up Oakland. But the Dolphins' defense is really good. Think about it. The last time Aaron Rodgers was held in check was when they played the Dolphins in Miami, and it took a last-second touchdown to beat them. So the Dolphins' defense is pretty good. For a fact how many bombs did Phillip Rivers drop on the Dolphins, But they're in Denver. Peyton, man, he's kind of been turning the ball over. He's got 6 picks in the last 3 games.
Yes.
He's going to be minus. Who knows? This upcoming week. There's some guys banged up. I don't like to ever go against Peyton Manning, especially when he plays in Denver. We talked earlier about how Aaron Rodgers can make any receiver look good. Peyton Manning's the same way. So whoever they put out there, whether I'm out there running the 9 routes or in-out routes, or Demaryius Thomas is out there, they're going to get some touchdowns. So I'm going to take the Broncos at Dolphins, but this is going to be a really, really good game because I don't think the Dolphins get enough respect. I think they're a good team.
I think you're right. The Dolphins do not get enough respect. I have the Dolphins and the Niners on my fantasy squad, and I basically mix and match depending on who they're playing. I'm starting the Niners this week because they're playing it's the yes. And obviously because Miami's playing Denver. But next week I got Miami playing the Jets, so I'm going to be starting the Miami's defense. I like to flip-flop it. I do want to say something. I am very worried because not only am I a fantasy owner of Julius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, and both I have no idea if they're playing, but the Broncos have suffered some major injuries. We were just talking about how they were going to be the 1 seed in the AFC, and suddenly Monty Ball's hurt. Ronnie Hillman's hurt. They're on a 3rd-string running back, C.J. Anderson. Emmanuel Sanders gets clocked. Is he playing? I don't know. Julius Thomas suffers an ankle injury. Is he going to play? I don't know. I mean, if you take all these guys out, I know Peyton Manning. If Jacob Tamme is going to fill in for Julius Thomas, it won't be a big deal because they have some chemistry. He was also in Indianapolis. But I do think that that can cause a lot of problems, man. If you're taking Julius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and the number 1 and 2 running back off that team. With that said, I'm taking the Broncos.
Oh, Mr. Build-up over here.
Because I think that Emmanuel Sanders is going to check out and play. Julius Thomas, I honestly have no idea if he's playing or not, though. But it's in Denver, and Peyton Manning in Denver, too hard to go against them. I think it's going to be close, like you said, but I think Denver pulls it off.
Alrighty, next game is Redskins at 49ers. And you know something? I know the Redskins really suck ass. Deshaun Jackson hasn't had a game in a while where he's had that, home run or nothing game. So far, the tail of the tape has stayed true. Alfred Morris has looked a lot better since RG3's return. RG3 looked really shitty his last game. With that said, RG3 came out and said him and his whole team have to play better. Blah, blah, blah. RG3 needs to worry about himself and everything else and whatever. But guess what? I'm going to take the Redskins to upset the 49ers at home. I'm going to go bold on this one because I think Alfred Morris goes off this game. The 49ers are hurt a bit defensively. I think RG3, this is, after the whole BS with Jay Gruden, I think he comes out and shows what up. The Redskins defense is actually, pretty decent. It doesn't get a lot of respect, but it's actually pretty decent. And I think Deshaun Jackson has one of those games where he hits home run balls all day. So I'm going to take the Redskins over the 49ers.
You are out of your mind. This game is, first of all, in San Francisco.
I don't care about that.
Second of all, RG3 throws 2 picks last game. 2 picks last game. The Niners have 9 interceptions the last 3 games. Let me repeat that for you. The Niners have 9 picks the last 3 games.
I was going bold on it.
I know. I honestly believe that if someone said over-under Niners defense has two interceptions, I say, yep, over. Because not only have the Giants defense forced 10 turnovers the last 3 games. Yeah, Eli Manning got killed, as we all know. But it was 2 picks the game before, 2 picks and a fumble recovery the game before. I think the Niners win this game. I don't even think the Niners' offense is going to be that solid, honestly. And I know there's more to play for, or not the Giants, I'm sorry. The Redskins have a lot more to play for here, especially after this whole RG3 call-out thing. But no. Niners in San Fran. San Fran's winning.
All right, that's fine. We got to go a little bit different here.
I'm glad we got a different game.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you a little bit of hope so we can't tie again. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm Cowboys at Giants. Oh, Eli Manning sucks ass. I don't care if he's playing at home. I don't care if he's playing in his backyard. He's throwing 5 picks either way. Cowboys are taking this game. DeMarco Murray, week off, rested, get them legs fresh. Tony Romo's get a chance to heal a little bit. Dallas wins this game easy.
Yeah, I don't need to elaborate much more either. I think DeMarco Murray is going to 150-plus rushing yards easy. This game, and Des Bryant had her fantasy owners out there had like 27 fantasy points last game before the bye, and I think it's going to keep going that way. This game might get ugly. Cowboys win.
Last game is Raven at Saints, and I don't know what the fuck to do with Drew Brees anymore. They play at home, they're unbeatable at the Dome. They lost their last 2 home games. Besides last week, when that dumbass fan yanked that ball away from that Bengals fan. What a classless piece of shit, too, by the way. And I saw on Facebook today you commented on that thing. They had an article about it.
Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way.
I mean, the guy was clearly tossing it to that. Why would he toss it to a Saints fan? He tossed it to the Bengals fan. And the guy had no regrets about it either. That's some classless bullshit right there. It's like in baseball, not giving a ball to a little kid if you're like, 40 fucking years old. Jesus criminy. So I'm torn because the Ravens are a good team. I doubted them a little bit, but I think they could beat the Saints at home. But it's like, every time I think the Saints are going to lose at home, they win. And that's why I think the Saints are so overrated because they can only win at one place and they don't hardly have any road wins in the last couple of years. Drew Brees is a great quarterback. I'm not going to say he's not elite. But this is why, I always consider him a notch below the Mannings, the Brees, the Bradys, or the Manning, the Rodgers, and the Bradys, because he can only win in the Dome. He struggles so much away from it. That's why I think when he gets talked about as those guys, I think it's a little bit of bullshit. I know how many yards he throws, but they also throw the ball 45 times a game. Even the running backs, he doesn't even traditionally handle the ball. It's fucking dump-off screens 3/4 of the time. So I mean, I think Brees is, you and I got into a little, we've been talking about how Mike says Andrew Luck's a little overrated. I honestly think Drew Brees is a tad on the overrated side, simply for the fact they can only win in the dome, and I don't know who the fuck to pick this game. So you know something? I'm going to go with the safe pick because I already took the Redskins to beat the 49ers, and I know you're still like, your mind's blown over this, so I'm just going to play it safe, and I'm going to take the Saints to win at home.
That's not shocking to me because I'm taking the Saints. Here's why. Not only because it's in the dome, but, man, it's getting real dark over here, obviously. Sorry about this thing. Let me turn the thing up. Okay, I'm taking the Saints, too, and I'm not just changing this pick just because you said it. I circled Saints a while ago. Look, everything you said is so true. I hope the Saints start running the ball more. I know Mark Ingram's been getting a lot of carries lately, but the New Orleans defense is so bad that I feel like just by passing the ball and passing the ball and passing the ball, and if it's incomplete and the clock stops, the Saints need to start to run the clock off a little bit more and have more possession time with that ball because that defense for New Orleans every time they get on the field sucks. And they're giving up. It's like the Saints players are all stoked if they only give up a field goal on defense. They need to learn to get 3 and outs. It's really starting to irritate me. In most ESPN fantasy leagues, Jay Cutler to this point has outscored Drew Brees. I know you don't want to hear that. I repeat, Jay Cutler has outscored Drew Brees.
This is my point with the a little bit rated.
I know. And this game though is in New Orleans, which is why I'm taking the Saints. And it's Monday Night Football and all that craziness. I think the Ravens are a better team, absolutely. Yeah. But I think this game in New Orleans on Monday night, knowing that they're going to run the ball, they should be running the ball 30 times, literally, especially if Kyrie Robbins is back. I'm taking the Saints. Again, we have 2 differences. You have Bears, I have Falcons, and then you have Redskins and I have Niners. All the other freaking 13 games are the same picks.
Here's the only reason why I don't pick against the Saints at home. Because last time I picked against the Saints at home was that Packers game, and they destroyed them. I mean, Mark Ingram just shit all over them. He had like 150 rushing yards. If it wasn't for that one game, I would legitimately be playing the Ravens. They just have that factor to where they can open up that second tier and do that kind of shit to you at home. That's the only reason why I'm picking them. So
agreed. I understand.
All right, so. Thanks for joining me again this week, Ryan. One of these weeks we're going to get Mike on. I keep texting him. I'm like, hey, tonight's picks. You want to do it with us? And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, and then I go to text him. He's like, yeah, I got something to do. So
let's do it, Mike. Don't bail next week.
I know. I keep trying to get us all together at the same time, but he doesn't do it. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you here again next week. Hope you're liking these videos. If not, oh well. I love doing them, and it's good to talk to Ryan.
Everyone loves it. See you guys.